Welcome back to the seventh grade mustache. On today's episode, we're speaking about rituals, big and small. Rituals are a mainstay of human civilization. They exist on every single level of life, from the microscopic to the macrocosm. They are everywhere and you cannot escape them. Now, some are good and some are harmless, and there are those that are being practiced and displayed in public for everybody to see by the powerful people who have vastly different beliefs than you and I. At the beginning here, we're going to start on the small rituals that everybody knows about, and I'm going to start with one that is familiar to me and that I know about, that I know a great deal about, and that one is rolling blunts, rolling joints, smoking cannabis. There is a ritual to rolling and smoking, and a lot of people understand what I'm talking about. When you smoke, there's a step by step process that you go through to make it happen. Now, hang on for a second, man. I got some weird ass audio levels. Hang on. So rolling up and smoking some herb. First you get the weed and you procure it. You want to get a flat surface, and back in the day, you would use an old record label, album cover, and you might have some fly art, and you break up the weed, and you sitting down with the album cover across your lap, and you breaking up the weed, and you smelling it, and you smiling, and you talking shit and telling stories and all that stuff, and you using papers or raw cones or blunts or whatever, but you want to set the tone for when you roll up and you smoke, because the vibe is going to change, because everybody's going to get lifted. So there's a process of getting the weed, rolling the weed, smoking the weed, and that
It
process.
ain't just the effects of the marijuana. It's the
No,
actual.
no, we talking about
It,
before you even get to even like
yeah,
lighten the blunt or the joint, you know what I'm saying, or the bowl. You there's a process of ciphering up where everybody comes together. You might be in a half circle, semicircle. Even in foreign countries like French people, like when they pass you a joint, they say "santé." That means blessings. You know what I'm saying? That's a way of like blessing the joint with good energy. When they hand it to you. You know, and there's so many ways that like people want to like bless the vibration of the area that they're smoking in. With positive energy. This is an old thing that goes back to the first time a bunch of dudes got together to smoke some weed that they found in the field or
the
like
peace
was
pipe.
grown by
There's some Native
accident.
Americans with a peace
Native
pipe. They're like,
Americans had the
you know
peace pipe.
what? Like, can you imagine like a wildfire and a bunch of weed caught on fire, and these motherfuckers are like, man, why the hell did that bird just crash like that? And then they realize that's some sacred weed.
Yes.
That's mystical. Um,
And peyote also is psychedelic. There are peyote circles where the shaman will gather his students or the people from the village who need to go on a journey or need to be cleansed of something. He'll gather them in a circle or he'll gather them in an area, and then he'll cleanse the area, and he'll go through a ritual of cleansing and clearing all the bad energy out. Another ritual is when people buy a home. What people will do sometimes is they'll get sage and they'll
burn
burn
sage,
sage as they walk through the house, and they're
or
expelling
they put a
all the
a
negative
circle of salt,
energy.
salt around it.
Yes. And they're expelling all the negative energy from the house. As I said before, all of the rituals are not bad. It all depends on what your intent is. But go ahead.
But what I was saying before the broadcast, me and Roscoe were talking. I can't remember this word, but there's a term we learned in high school, and it came up again in sociology in college, where there's certain things that we do in society to to normalize something. Like it's a basic human function, but you normalize it by like marriage, procreation, companionship. But we use marriage as societal ways. Well, one of these things is our holidays. Holidays are designed for us to get shit out of our system. Now we get the ritual part, but for instance, what is the pyromaniac's holiday?
4th of July.
Fourth of July. Exactly. That is designed for people who like to burn up shit to get it up. You think it's by accident, and a lot of times, many of these things, Halloween, whatever. But the bottom line is that people have these urges, and if you pay attention, society has things or safe stopgaps to, like, okay, you know what, you go and act a fool on this day, Valentine's Day. You want to do a lot of unwedded fucking? That's what Valentine's Day is for. If you want this, and so these things are to normal these human functions that urges, not even needs, but they're urges or desires or whatever. They're cured by these certain things, and like what you're saying is these rituals exist. Now, sometimes some we don't realize these rituals are to good or bad, or they're just minor rituals, like, like you said, blessing a house, that kind of stuff. But the whole question is, not everybody has the same beliefs, so that's what we're watching out for.
Right. And so, to carry on with the holiday thread, a lot of the holidays that we observe come from pagan rituals. Easter and the Maypole are fertility holidays that go all the way back to the Canaanites. The Canaanites had different holidays, and they were based on these marriage rituals or fertility rituals, and they go back even that far. And so these were folded into our modern day worship practices with the Council of Nicaea and Constantine, where he was charged with bringing with the pagans and the Christians together. And so that's how, these holidays that we practice now have become a common stay. But there's always a layer underneath with ritualistic observances. And so,
Like a lot of times the etymology of the word will break down the holiday and you don't realize it. Like the word honeymoon had to do with marriage and had to do with, I guess, the gift of, they gave beer to people and it took 30 days for the beer to ferment, and that was it sounds corny as hell, but when you look up what honeymoon means, it's a crazy ritualistic shit that
well,
had to do with.
St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day was not created by Irish Catholics. It was created by Protestant Masons. Yeah.
Mm,
St. Patrick's Day is a Masonic holiday. It's crazy
yeah.
like how these things that we like take for granted have a duality or dual meaning to them.
Yeah, the whole idea was that's when Saint Patrick brought Christianity to the Irish Isle and all that stuff. But it's more to these are the dates are what matters. The rituals and what we're being fed, but it's a ritual and it takes place on a certain day and it has more significance to somebody else. But we're sitting, and that's when you hear the term pagan. We're celebrating, but we don't know what we're actually celebrating. We know what they tell us you're celebrating, but then it'll have a whole nother Masonic meaning, a whole nother, meaning behind it. And that's kind of what we're getting on with this whole ritual thing. Be careful what you're partaking in. We get suckered a lot of times.
No doubt. Absolutely. I mean, even Christmas. Christmas is based on an amalgamation of different pagan beliefs that is married to images of Christianity. Because Nimrod was the hunter. Nimrod was used for the different parts of Christmas. For example, in you see an image of Nimrod. He has a tree in his hand, in one hand, and that tree is what we use as a symbol for the Christmas tree. So that imagery from Christmas or from Nimrod
It
is
goes way back.
part of Christmas. So there's different parts of like different
They talk about
holidays.
they talk about the Yule log and having these crazy meanings. Like I said, I looked this stuff up. Sometimes you read stuff, I forgot it, but the whole Yule log, and you think this has to do with just burning a log during Christmas? No, this has actual significance. Some I don't want to say it's sick, but it has some real messed up significance. And these are rituals that we're taking part in, and we don't always realize it.
Yes, absolutely. And then there's things around you every day that you do not realize have more than one meaning or you are confused about its true meaning. For example, the Statue of Liberty. A lot of people think that's a woman. It's not a woman. The sculptor that created the sculpture of the Statue of Liberty, the model was used for that was his brother. Yeah,
Mm.
that's right. So that's why you look at the Statue of Liberty and it looks like a woman with like strong male features. Again,
Features, yeah.
not a woman. That's a man. Now it's confusing because all right, so why does a man have a corona for a crown? I'll say it again, a corona for a crown, holding a torch, looking like a woman. What is really going on there? It's because that sculptor was paying homage to Mithras. Mithras was a Roman god, and based on a mystery religion centered around him, and is inspired by the Iranian worship of Zoroastrianism. Now, Michael Bloomberg found out there's an ancient temple of Mithras in London, and he had it moved from its location to his London office. Now, this sounds
Wow,
odd. Why is
that's
Michael
crazy.
Bloomberg worshiping Mithras? What is really going on there? Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, Self. The thing
Slow,
is,
slow down, slow down.
hold on, I'm
Like,
gonna
okay,
get to it.
first
I'm gonna
things
get to
first.
it.
Oh no, no, I'm just saying when you say worship, people like, oh no, he might just like it for its artistic value. He might like it. No, these people with money are they're dealing in things that we don't fully understand.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. But see, Mithras or Mithra in old ancient Iranian or Persia, he was the god of the sun, justice, and contract and war. But here's the thing: there's strange practices that the people who worship Mithra follow. So in Rockefeller Center, there is a temple to Mithras. That sounds odd. Why would that be in a place of great commerce in one of the most powerful cities in the United States? It really doesn't make any sense. But when you start to dig beneath the surface, it does, because there was a New Yorker article in a New Yorker magazine about these parties that these people belong to, and these rich and powerful people, these bankers and these captains of industry, they would have these costume parties, these cosplay parties, and it was all for the god Mithras. And Michael Bloomberg is one of the members of this club. And so these parties were based on the second degree of Masonry, which is Memphis. And in this degree, in these parties, men would dress up like women and pair themselves with the older members. So these men dressing themselves up as women were the plebes or the pledges. And these
Mm,
plebes would pair themselves up with older men. So this
mm,
is based on this old, ancient Persian and Roman tradition
mm,
of men dressing up like women when they want to pledge, and they're giving their booty hole to these older
mm-hmm,
dudes.
mm-hmm.
So what you have
Now,
is, hold, wait, wait, wait. What you have is eyes wide shut without
mm,
any vajayjay or titties. Okay, it's just a booty
now,
hole party.
now, if again, when people don't believe us, whatever, it's okay. If you look at the original definition of the word orgy, if when you start looking at the Roman and Greek orgies, women were not invited. It was only young boys, 12 and 14-year-old. What they're doing, they're imitating the old Greek and Roman societies. Now, Rome was based on Greece, and so however you want to put it. But the fact is this: women were not allowed at orgies. That's
Because there was some level of morality attached to this, meaning that nobody nobody would be accused of rape because there's no women around, and it's all men. So you're supposed to have like a stiff upper lip and be a man and take it like a man. So because there's no women around, there's no rape, but there's booty hole rape going on,
yeah.
and all types of like debauchery and bestiality and animal weirdness going on, and dudes wearing goat
But
heads.
but see the whole issue that people aren't seeing is that they were doing these rituals in front of you. Going back to MTV, going back to the VMAs a few
Hey,
about
hey,
I
hey!
guess
You want one in front of you? The AT&T symbol is the logo of Mithras.
did not know that.
Yep.
I was saying going back to remember that when Nicki Minaj had that big performance where where she came with the priest as her date. Well, she came with the Pope as her date. Excuse me. If you pay attention, that's when I think it was when Whitney Houston died. They were doing a ritual in front of everybody, fire, dancing, all this other stuff. They were doing a ritual in front of people, and that's when you hear about Whitney and these stars being sacrifices, and everybody's like, "Yeah, you just making that up. You don't know what you're talking about." Pay attention. They do these things in front of people, so you think it's normal, or in fact, you want to be part
Lady
of it. You're
Gaga.
like, "Oh,
Lady Gaga had a Super Bowl halftime show that was about the fall of Lucifer. If you don't believe
Hold
it,
it. Don't forget. Don't
look up The
don't
Fall of
forget about
Lucifer
what.
and watch it.
But look, how about this? Look up what Lady Gaga means. Lady Gaga was she? Oh damn.
Lady Gaga stole the personage or the stage image of Lady Morgana. Lady Morgana was pushed off of a hotel as a ritual sacrifice by her boyfriend, who was an aspiring runway model. Lady
But no,
Gaga, hold on,
Gaga
hold on,
goes
hold on.
back.
Then Lady Gaga then stole her idea, her whole spiel,
Mhm.
her whole shtick. She stole that from that chick.
But now, Gaga, the term Gaga was a female deity back in the day, and I don't remember where I read it at, so I don't want to. I don't like venturing down the road if I ain't got enough information. But when you realize that these people are doing rituals in front of you, they're doing it in front of you, where you're like, hey, I don't have nothing to
In
do
your
with.
face,
I
in
remember,
your face.
I remember. Look, you remember being a little kid and going to church, and they would tell you like, "Yeah, you play the record backwards. It's satanic, and this, and this," and you're like, "Yeah, whatever." Now that I'm grown, hey, dude, there's way more to that shit than you realize. Because when you find out the whole music industry is run by, some evil Satanist motherfuckers or Luciferian motherfuckers, you gotta remember, Luciferian and Satanists ain't the same thing. Satanists are the broke motherfuckers. Luciferian are the
Rich
higher ups.
motherfuckers. Yes.
Yeah, and you don't realize these rituals are taking place in front of you. So when you see this rapper doing this crazy shit, and he's wearing a dress and he's dancing, I'm like, okay, ASAP, what? And then you realize, okay, they're doing it in front of you. He's doing this to appease somebody else, and he's pledging his loyalty to something bigger. And here's the other issue that me and Roscoe always flaunt in front of you guys, that the story of Lucifer is different for black folks. The black church tells you a different story. And when you learn that story, there was music involved. And if you think that, okay, if Lucifer had a relationship with music in heaven, why would he not have a relationship with music on earth? What's the one
Oh.
what's the one thing that breaks up every great music group? It's called LV syndrome, lead vocalist syndrome, or Lucifer syndrome. Because in the black religion, in our church, we're taught that Lucifer was the head singer of the choir, and he thought that he was the most beautiful. He thought they should be singing to him. That's what we're taught. And so, when you realize, like, okay, so what broke up the band? His arrogance, and he took a third of the host with him. But if you pay attention, that's why it's so. Like I said, I know for the white folks listening that's some weird shit. We'll break it down if you ever ask us. But that's what we're actually taught. And when you learn that, then you're like, okay, that's what broke up the band. That's what got Lucifer kicked out of heaven. Is the fact that he wanted that role. They shouldn't be singing a guy. They should be singing to me. I'm doing all the work. I'm the best looking motherfucker. And that sounds just like lead vocalist syndrome. Okay, you got Van Halen. Yeah, Van Halen and Van Hagar. But when you had Van Halen and you got David Lee Roth singing, it was dope. Then all of a sudden, like, nah, we want Sammy Hagar. Because David thought he can go solo, and he's bullshit. He's garbage. You know what I'm saying?
dude,
So
dude.
that's
You know why? Like I'm starting to have more and more respect for Prince. The more I learn about him, man. And
yeah, yeah. Real talk, real talk.
Prince was a guy that went infinitely against the grain. He figured out that the music industry is run by Luciferians, which is why he became more and more spiritual with his music. If you start to if you watch the trajectory of his music, it starts off very sexually oriented, and then it
Hmm.
starts to elevate from there and become very spiritual until his last days.
But
And
I think, but don't forget also the similarities between him and Mike were a lot more than people realize. I think they both found out what's really going on,
yeah,
and at first they got sucked in. Then they realized, oh, wait a minute. And that's when they went a completely different direction. Like, you know what? I don't belong to anybody. I'm a spirit. I belong to the person in heaven, and they start taking it a different way. And people make fun of the stuff when he became the symbol. They made fun of it, but no, what it is, he's telling you like, hey man, this struggle is real. It's not this ain't just a money struggle. This ain't just monetary. But you realize that's just part of it. It's a struggle for your soul. And when you mess with these people, they try to get you to sell your soul. Um, who's the white dude with the crappy voice, but everybody loves his music? I can't think of his name, but he even said he sold his soul. He's like, yeah, I sold my soul, and people like when it was like Ed Bradley was interviewing him for 60 minutes. Dylan, he was interviewing him. He's like, this ain't. So you mean figuratively, right? No. And
oh, Bob
so
Dylan.
Bob Dylan, I couldn't remember Bob's first name. Yeah, I'm like, dude, if that motherfucker ain't casting the spell, I don't know who the fuck is. And I think what happens is that when you hear the stuff, you're like, man, it's just music. And the whole, it's not just the music industry, but the whole entertainment industry is plagued by that. And so whenever somebody speaks out, you're like, okay, you're just mad because you're not hot anymore. Or like when Cat Williams was telling you what it was like, you're like, nah, Cat's just crazy.
No,
Now,
but let's
I
let's
think,
but let's bring it back to symbolism though. I want to,
no, the rituals, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the
And the
rituals.
one thing I was trying to say real quick is that I think the one thing that busted it open was the hashtag Me Too movement when you realize that all these women were going through this. Like
But hold
before it was
on.
one or two
Well, wait,
bras.
wait, 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 wait. Stop right there in your tracks. See, this is the problem I have with the whole Me Too movement. None of those people have children. None of those people have nephews and nieces. None of those people have babysit little kids that have been abused. Everybody wants to jump up and down and talk about Black Lives Matter. Everybody wants to talk about Me Too,
Mm.
but nobody gives a shit about little black kids that go missing from the streets of DC and Georgia and Omaha.
Hold it. We on that ritual stuff. So I know where you're going with this. Look, the bottom line, Rabbi, forgot his last name. He said, "How come y'all can't figure out 30,000 people go missing from New York every year? How come it's the exact same number? You can't tell me that y'all can't figure out that it's the exact same number. It's something. You mean to tell me that you don't know what we're doing to these people? And when you find out that a lot of these ancient rituals, the Jewish Passover ain't the same as the Passover for Christians. And when you find that out, that these people actually had those cookies and they eat the little bread with blood in it, and you realize like that's a ritual.
Yes.
And if you're rich enough, you can partake in that. Now, am I saying all Jews do this? No. Am I calling? No, I'm not anti-Semitic. What I'm saying is you got to pay attention to the fact that these wealthy people be doing some real nasty shit. But the point I was trying to make about not the Me Too movement, but how these women are being exploited. A lot of those people are taking place in rituals or the satanic ritualistic abuse. When that stuff comes back, they're like, oh, it doesn't exist. Trust me, pay attention. That stuff exists, and these people yes, they're fucked up for life. And you talk about post traumatic stress syndrome and shit like that. They're being used. So yeah, back to the rituals. I'm sorry, Roscoe. Go ahead. Back to the rituals.
So
I'm sorry.
everybody wants to take a knee right now. Everybody's all about taking a knee here and this and that. They just do it without even thinking about it at all, just because they saw some guy do it on TV. Here's the thing: when you see police officers take a knee, they're not doing it for the same reason. They are genuflecting to Hiram a beef. That is a
I remember Biff.
symbolic,
Masonic. Yeah.
ritualistic gesture for the assassination of Hiram Abif, which is an allegory. Okay, so do not fall for the okey doke and think those cops are just taking a knee to be taking a knee. No, it's being
Hi-
done for a reason. And you see,
Now,
okay, go ahead.
that's Hiram Biff is a Masonic thing that took place. This guy gets murdered, and
And he's
he says
attacked from
cast
three
cast.
sides.
Yeah, it actually has to do with real estate and state. It has to do with government, and it's an allegory. But the fact is this: if you don't believe it's real to the Masons, the most famous attack that we know about was going back to Jack the Ripper. That's how they knew Jack. How do you think they knew Jack the Ripper was a Mason? Because when he killed those women and
Ritualistic
removed their guts and
murders.
put, yes, he put it over the shoulder. That was Howard Biff. So the police officers knew like, hey, this guy's a Mason. We don't know who he is yet, but we knew. Well, they said, well, he must be a butcher. He must be this. He must be a doctor. Whoever he was, they knew had something to do with the royal family, or he was initiate. He was initiated into masonry. So the Hiram Biff thing is real to somebody. Again, this goes back to like I said, when you read about this stuff and you're not initiated, you're like, okay, that's no big deal. That's bullshit. But to the initiate, it means way more. And like I said, the Hiram Biff thing, I guess he's in the Bible. He's mentioned in the Bible, but again, it means something different to somebody who's a Mason. And further up you go, the more it means. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Roscoe.
So police are essentially a Masonic order with badges and guns. And if you don't believe that, just do a little investigation to the Fraternal Order of the Police.
For,
That is
Fraternal Order. Yep.
that
Yep.
is a Masonic order. But
Lodge.
within the police, there are smaller groups. And there was a news story that came out back in late July of this year about the Vallejo police in California. And they were a group that had their own little small cult and they had their little rituals. And a police badge has 7 stars, all right? And they would bend the stars. They would bend one of the points of the star to make it a 6 pointed star. So you're
Really?
going from a 7 pointed star to a 6 pointed star. That's symbolism, okay? What they were doing
Hmm.
though, it was being called a badge of honor. Every time they would have a fatal shooting where they would kill somebody in the line of duty, they would they would basically be initiated to the next level of degree. So you had this Masonic order within the police unit itself, within this precinct, that had their own little backyard ritualism and ritual killings. So these police were taking the law into their own hands, Star Chamber style, and going out and hunting down people and killing them, right? And this was being used for their cult, their secret society. These were ritualistic killings. Did you hear
That's
about
another
that?
part. Like no, I didn't. But when you said Star Chamber, these guys aren't old enough. A lot of people are old enough to remember. A lot of these movies and TV shows, we don't realize that they're straight up based on real
Dude,
stuff.
that's a good
Like,
ass movie. Listen, if y'all have not seen the Star Chamber, go and watch that shit. This movie's about a group of judges, Masons, who
mm, mm,
were basically handcuffed by the law, and these criminals were getting off on technicalities. So they got tired of this, and they would hire an assassin to go out and kill these criminals, off the books. And they would meet in this dark room around a chamber. They call it a star chamber, masonry, and they would decide the fate of these criminals. Watch that movie, The Star Chamber. It came out in the early '80s, but it's pretty fucking good. Michael Douglas is in that one, and Yafet Koto, your boy Yafet Koto from Live and Let Die, he's in that
yep,
shit.
yep.
Yeah, good ass movie.
But the point we're making by bringing up these movies is the fact that this is how they make you drowsy to this. This is how they get you acclimated to this. Kind of like when you go to the pool and you take a shower first and then you jump into cold water. This is how they acclimate you to that, to the fact that this stuff goes on every day, and then you dismiss it for them. They ain't even got to make up a lie. You dismiss it like, oh man, you don't know. You just mad because you ain't famous, or you just mad. And one of the things that me and you had talked about on the Boulay episode was LeBron, and I was like, man, maybe I'm wrong about that tattoo on LeBron's chest. Yeah, that tattoo is real. So
Okay,
you don't.
we got to get to that tattoo. We got to get to the George Floyd tattoo. Okay, George Floyd, his murder was a ritual cult killing. Okay, that was a ritual murder, a ritual execution. All right, that cop was kneeling on his back, and that death represented the murder of Hiram Abif. Okay, if y'all were like looking at this thing on TV and thought there was something strange, like we're watching like The Running Man and like improv comedy and like high drama all at the same time, well, you are right because you are watching a ritualistic murder happen on TV, and it was Masonic. Now the guy that was being murdered, see, Hiram Abif was a Mason. Okay, in this story, this famous story, Hiram Abif is a Mason. George Floyd had the double-headed eagle on his chest. That is on the flag of the Scottish Rite. Okay, so you got to
Mm,
understand the context of this. That same flag with the double-headed eagle of the Scottish Rite was planted on the moon by Buzz Aldrin after he planted the American flag on TV. After they killed the live news feed into a storage compartment on the lunar module, he went and he got the Scottish Rite flag out. And he got this flag and he planted on the moon. And he claimed the moon in the name of Lucifer. Then they went into the module and they had a second Masonic ritual. It was the same ritual that Catholics had, where they drink the blood of Christ and they eat his flesh with the crackers. All right? And then after they did that, Buzz Aldrin took a Masonic apron, he held it up for the camera, and he placed it around his groin. All right? Which is, considered the power center or the dynamo. So these things are happening around us. NASA is filled with all types of symbolism. You have to pay attention, okay? Because Apollo 13 was launched at 13:13, the 13th hour, the 13th minute. We're talking military time now. The 13th hour and the 13th minute. All right? These are all symbolic, even down to when the Challenger space shuttle exploded and those astronauts were ritually killed, sacrificed. Yes, the time that it happened is, when you break it down, a ritualistic, esoteric number. All these things are based on on esoteric rituals. Even things to like Tesla and what they call their rockets. The Falcon rocket. The Falcon rocket is Horus. That's Egyptian. Everything that you're seeing today is a continuation of ancient Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Persian, Iranian, and Babylonian magic. If you don't believe that, fine, go and look it up. Because then, you know what? There's doubt in belief. But dig these things up on your own, and you will find these things to be true. There is a society
the whole
under our
issue.
society right now, and it's always been there.
Look, the big issue, like I was arguing with this guy at work, whatever you want to call it, talking to him, and I'm like, he's like, I'm military, I wouldn't do this. I'm like, so what happens if the guy you're working for is evil? Or and we talked about this in different podcasts. Nobody wants to address. So if the people we're working for are evil, and these people are doing these ceremonies, and we're willing or unwilling participants, we don't know what we're giving up. We don't know what the commodity is. You always hear about this human sacrifice, but there's a lot of human sacrifice going on, and it's one of these things where you're like, yeah, right, because you're thinking of some kind of altar in the woods someplace, and somebody with a knife and a hat on and this kind of shit. But those things are happening out in the open. They ain't in the woods. They're doing it in front of you. And just because we got cell phones, we're capturing it. But you still got what is that, the Bilderberg meetings, and you still have all these rich folks talking about your behalf, and you're not invited. Bezos got invited to one of those meetings, but trust me, just because you have a lot of money, he didn't get invited back. You don't understand that what this stuff really means. And when you find out about riding goats, and you hear these different terms, then all of a sudden you see goats all over. I'm like, these guys are telling the goat is the greatest of all time. That's what it means when you talk about Muhammad Ali. But you got a lot of people claiming goats, but they're claiming it for different reasons, and you're being sucked in. Or you don't realize that, okay, like the term Friday the 13th is bad luck. Why is that bad luck? Bad luck for who? It ain't bad, And then a lot of these numbers are sacred geometry. A lot of this stuff, you don't like. Again, my brother's telling you, these rituals take place all around us, and some of them, sometimes you don't even realize that you're worshiping something. That's the whole point he's trying to get across. That you don't realize that, hey, I don't believe in this. I'm
But what?
atheist.
Check this out.
Yeah,
You got to look at relationships. Relationships have a lot to do with it. And nepotism. If nepotism is involved, it's worse. For example, going back to the Apollo program, the Apollo program, the manager of the space program was Kenneth Kleinneck. Kenneth Kleinneck was a 33rd degree Mason, and his brother Fred Kleinneck was the current, at that time, sovereign Grand Commander and head of all Scottish Rite Masons around the world. Okay? So you got to understand who these people in power. And then guess what, y'all? Like, you think, in November,
it's innocent. It's not
you think
innocent.
it's in, none of this shit is innocent. None of it, okay? And you think these people that you're going to vote into office November trying to get rid of Trump, that they're innocent, that they're just, fresh-eyed, wonderful people with like no dirty draws. No. You got to understand, these people, by the time they get to that point in office, they have lied, cheated, stole, and killed to get there. And
Hey,
oh,
what about that special place at Disneyland? Was it Lodge 33 or what is it?
Club 33.
Club 33. That's
Why
because
that
Walt
number?
Disney,
Why does it
because he's a
have to be
33rd
there?
degree Mason.
Yeah, exactly. But see, but you also got to understand though, he would hang out with the guy that was building rockets for the military
Mm-hmm.
in World War II. Jack
Paperclip
Parsons.
guy.
Jack Parsons.
Yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
Jack
Oh yeah. I
Parsons.
forget. Yeah.
Jack Parsons, who then eventually met Werner von Braun. Werner von Braun
Von Braun.
then met Walt Disney, and they got tight. Walt Disney put him on his Sunday weekly show talking about rockets going into space. This guy was a confirmed Nazi war criminal.
No, he's not confirmed. He is a he when you hear about Operation Paperclip, many of these German scientists, because they're Nazis, were supposed to be arrested. What America did, it's called Operation Paperclip, and they paperclipped a new identity to them. So they came over here with new names, new identity, and they were just immigrants, and they integrated into our society. But these are people who had traits, they had abilities and skills that
Right,
America wanted.
right. And
So
but see, but their modus operandi was also folded into the CIA, the United States
yes,
military, and
yes.
also with these large companies. The way these Nazis ran their military, the way they ran their scientific, explorations, all that was folded into the American way of life, and they use these techniques to this day.
Look, and if you don't believe that happened during World War II, we saw it after we saw it after the Civil War. How even though the South lost, we still the North wanted their money, their commodity. So they like, you know what? Come on up here. So a lot of these rich businesses don't realize came from the South. That money came from there. That's why they were so quick to, even though the slavery is over, you still had these companies that were insuring slaves, and where they even had whenever you hear these Moors talk about the term Negro was a beast or burden, what they're saying that at one point in time, when you saw the word Negro, you were based like a mule. And so you saw like the Union Pacific Railroad and the Southern Pacific Railroad, they owned black people, they owned slaves, or they borrowed slaves and they paid money. And if they died, and it's craziness, but that term Negro at one point in time meant beast or burden. It was the same as the term Negro meant that. So when you understand that a lot of these things just supposedly when you lose a war, we supposed to take you over. No, what happens is we take you in and we take from you what we want, and that's what happened with Germany. And so when you realize that these Germans, they were all into this secret society shit, and you realize they came over here and they infiltrated our society with the same beliefs, the same systems, the same rituals. Like when these rockets are launched on certain days, they are tributes to these demigods or gods or these old ways. The same thing when you were talking about with the up in Norway where they built the tunnel. They had
Now,
a ritual.
yes, yes, yes. That's what I want to talk about. Go ahead, go ahead. I'm gonna lead into that.
Uh, no, no, go ahead. I was leading in. You don't realize they're doing rituals to the underworld, to these old gods. That's why they pick certain days. That's why they sit here and dance, and they have these elaborate ceremonies, and we have a ribbon cutting. Yes, it's symbolizing something. Don't fall for that bullshit. And TV has normalized it so much to where when you see it, you dismiss it. You're like, oh, that's very nice. No. Why are they breaking a bottle on that boat? They're christening. No, don't fall for that bullshit.
Okay,
Go ahead,
okay.
Roscoe.
I am so glad you brought that up. Okay, so recently there was a tunnel that was built underground connecting Switzerland to Italy. And this tunnel is to be used for the transport or for a major trade and industry, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they dig the tunnel, and then, like a ship, they want to christen this, right? Which is also another ritual. This ritual was held in public for the news, all right? And everybody saw this. And it was a very strange ceremony. It was a pagan ceremony because there was this horned deity, goat looking character that came out of the tunnel and did this little dance. And the humans then bowed and genuflected and paid homage to this god of the underworld. Now, this is the gods that the people in that area worship. This has nothing to do with the gods that any of you that listen to this, be you Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or Hindu. It has nothing to do with any of that. This is some otherness, okay? Some other type shit. So that means the people in power, the people that spent the $8 billion on this project, the people who put up the money for this project in Switzerland, The old money, the really old money, the people that attend these eyed wide shut parties, that pray to Mithras, that pray to Osiris, that pray to the pagan gods. Okay, these people felt the need to genuflect to this deity of the underworld in front of everybody, and they didn't care. What you are
But
seeing,
why?
hold on.
Hold it. Why would they do that though?
Here's the reason. Because they are, what you've noticed is that rituals and occult, which means hidden, is no longer hidden anymore because these things are wide open in the public. Why? They want to recruit people. They want people to join their religion. And you got bobbleheads out there that are happily joining this because they're disgruntled and disappointed with what they're getting from Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Hinduism or Zoroastrianism or whatever. These people are doing this shit wide open in the public and they don't care. Y'all all, everybody that's watching this, you need to go and watch this ceremony, this opening ceremony for this tunnel that is in Switzerland, not far from CERN, okay, the Hadron Collider. We'll get to that in a second. These people had this wide open in the public and didn't give a fuck, okay? That's telling you something. They want you to know that something is really going on. Now, the crazy part about it is not only did this god come up from under the underworld, but there was a light show also happening, right? It looked like a portal had opened. Now, portal to what? Portal to the underworld. Now let's go about maybe 400 miles south of there to the French Swiss border, where the Hadron Collider is, the particle accelerator. All right, there is a statue of Kali, the destroyer, at the entrance to that facility. What? Yeah. So these people who worship Kali, the destroyer, I'm going to say it again, put a big old statue of Kali at the entrance to the facility. And then when they dedicated the statue, they had a dance. They had a ritualistic dance to Kali at this site. Again, in your face, occult, once hidden, rituals, writ large for the public to see.
But
People
you can't translate since you don't know what it's saying.
exactly.
You
So
don't get
it look, oh, it's so weird. Oh, it's just so random. Bitch, that ain't random. Ain't nothing about that shit random. You fucking airhead. You need to understand what is going on. You need to understand that there are people in power that don't believe the same shit that you do, that are gonna push their world and their worldview on you, like it or not. And it's coming in the form of the erosion of your civil rights and your human rights and a totalitarian system. It's coming and it's happening. Everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody has a uniform, and everybody walks in lines to get into Walmart. And you're being dog trained. You're being.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Let me pose a question to these real smart people, because everybody's so smart about this whole Corona thing. If masks stop Corona, then why did people in China get it? Because they've been wearing masks for years.
Dude, how about hold on, sidebar. Hold up. What happened to washing your hands? I don't hear a fucking thing about washing your hands, and all I hear about now is masks. That's it.
And you got to be careful about those antibacterial and that germ stuff, because sometimes that messes up your
natural
pH.
your natural amounts of germs you have.
But the point I'm trying to make is, if these masks stop the spread, then you saw people in China who had masks on that were falling over. You saw people in China who've been wearing masks since Michael Jackson was a baby, and they still got it. So obviously these masks don't stop it. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying, okay, fine. If you sneeze, the mask stops you from sneezing. But like we told y'all before, carbon dioxide, too much carbon dioxide in the blood, you need oxygenation to stop you from getting cancer and these other things. So how about this? 500,000 people a year die from cancer. What about that? You don't have that many people dying from corona. On Corona's worst day, that ain't gonna happen. You got 700,000 people dying from heart disease. Trust me, eating right is more important than this other shit. So the bottom line is that these rituals, sometimes you might not even realize consuming meat is a ritual in some places. You don't realize that you're being sucked into it because they normalized it to you to the point where you don't realize that you're doing something right, wrong, evil, or indifferent. But the fact is this, you know, these deities, they might not be real to you, but they're real to somebody, and they're willing to kill over it. They're willing to buy whole nations. You know, why did they do that ceremony when they opened up that big crater in the ground and they started digging that tunnel? Because they wanted to be successful financially. So they paid homage to some kind of pagan motherfucker to make sure that they're successful. Because they're successful for some reason, and they might not even know why they're successful, but that's what they're doing. So yeah, you got to recognize, maybe not recognize, but you got to have discernment. Like, you know, I remember, like, I was trying to tell my kids, like, hey man, why do y'all think Kevin Hart is funny? His stand-up is not funny. And Kevin is doing his little stand-up. He's like, yeah, it's just fire. Fire just pops up. I don't know. That is a ritual. Why the hell does a comedian need fire? Unless he's doing some kind of magic trick and making the bird disappear or some bullshit. Why? Because it's a ritual taking place. There's a sacrifice being done. There's something going on in front of you and you don't realize it. Why the hell do they need fire there? Since we don't recognize what's going on, we're like, oh, in hell, why do you? The dude ain't that funny. Now, I do like his show, but his stand-up was never that good. And that tells you, because you're being dumbed down, you're being brainwashed, you're being manipulated, and you don't realize it. Sometimes you're being hypnotized. A lot of people don't realize you're being hypnotized because that group mentality is a motherfucker. So these rituals, they have significance even if you don't believe in them. And sometimes, like, you used to hear them crazy people at church, like, hey, don't do that. Like, yeah, whatever, old lady. Now I'm like, yeah, don't do that shit. You know, avoid that. Don't listen to that music. Don't touch that. And, you know, wear your gloves. I don't. People they have you participating in a ritual, and you don't realize that you're the fodder. You're the commodity, and it's sick. It's real sick.
So earlier, you spoke about Jack the Ripper, and Jack the Ripper was one of the most famous serial killers that ever existed. But Jack the Ripper was also a Mason, and a lot of these killers, these serial killers that you see nowadays, have been planted by people who live or part of secret
Ooh,
societies. Now,
ooh,
this is the thing. So, a lot. Okay, here's the thing. They got to get money to fund police programs, so they'll get their budget every year. So these secret societies will create an MK Ultra killer and have him
yeah.
go out and allow him to kill
It's it's
multiple
so much more.
amounts of people.
It,
Hold on.
it's very complicated.
It is, but we're gonna uncomplicate it. Now,
No. That's not what I
all
meant.
right, okay,
I
but
meant
wait. Just hold your thought, hold your fire. Now, the thing is that if you eliminated serial killers, if you eliminated the tampering with the CIA bringing drugs into the black community, into different communities, if you eliminated the interference that you had with secret societies tampering with the public, creating a false sense of fear, creating serial killers, creating these mind control programs to create these suicide bombers, to create these school shooters, to create the drug epidemic, to destroy the black family. If you eliminate all this ritualistic crime, we'd be a much peacefuler, more peaceful society. But it's not that way. We have the world that we live in that was created by people who practice rituals. And so you see ritualistic killers kidnapping kids from the streets and taking their bodies, sexually molesting these children, getting them to the highest state of fear, harvesting their bodies for adrenochrome. Drinking adrenochrome is part of a ritual. These people that kill these kids, that harvest other organs, but take the adrenal glands and juice them and get adrenochrome, are ritualistic pagans, are ritualistic devil worshippers. These people are doing these things for a reason. When you see a spree of kids in a city or a state or an area that go missing, that more likely than not there is a ritual murder pattern going on there. And this is
Okay,
done for the point of magic, dark magic,
here's what
dark arts.
here's something that you're missing. I think it's the Candyman, but I'm looking on my phone right now. I'm sorry, I can't find it. But a lot of times, what people don't realize, a lot of these murderers, are CIA or ex-CIA agents. Because pay attention, how many times, like, take the governor of Texas, which was George Bush, would pardon somebody with a death penalty, and this guy would have killed like 19 people, some crazy number of people, and he'd be pardoned. This murder would be pardoned by George Bush, but then this woman who killed one or two people didn't get a pardon, or this black guy that killed. That's because that person was probably CIA, or that person had a purpose for something else, and you don't realize that
Hold
guy
on.
was doing a ritualistic
Hold
murder.
on. Hold on. Hold on. Let's take it a step further. Let's bring it up to 2020. Ghislaine
No,
Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. We did not see a mugshot. We didn't see a police record or anything. The judge that was going to prosecute her, that was going to like handle her case, her son was assassinated in a ritualistic killing. Now, dig this. Ghislaine Maxwell is only being charged with the most minor of minor charges when it comes to sex trafficking, and the only charge he's being levied against her is taking a minor over state lines for sex abuse.
kidnapping,
Yes,
yeah,
for
yeah.
kidnapping charge. This lady is the mastermind behind the whole Epstein Lolita Express sex island child abuse adrenochrome
She
distribution ring.
knows some shit. She knows some shit.
This
But
listen,
okay,
hold on. She was a pilot of a submarine in Israel. Hello, a submarine pilot.
military.
Her father was in the Secret Service of Israel. Okay, and listen, Israeli Secret Service, what they specialize in is compromise and blackmail using sex crimes. This is
Okay,
how
hold
she
up,
got
slow down.
involved with this shit.
Look,
Ritualistic.
okay, a lot of these say I can't tell you where I got this information, but a lot of these CIA fucks really do be sick motherfuckers. And what happens if you're a small town cop and you run into them? What'll happen is, like, while you building a case or you catch somebody, you'll get your orders, let the guy go. He's a lawyer, and a short time later, you'll find out the dude's guilty, and you'll never find this person again. Every once in a while, these cops won't let this guy go because they got too much evidence and they just ignore the whatever orders they got. But it does happen more than you realize. And hey, I'm getting goosebumps right now because I can't, like I said, I can't tell you where I know this from. But that CIA, a lot of those CIA dudes are sick, and it could be because they were doing shit before, or it could be that was their purpose. But they do a lot of this killing. Why do you think these cops, when they catch one person, they pin everything on them? We always glance over the Atlanta child murderers. We know that dude might have killed a couple of them.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, but he
but
didn't kill all of them, okay? Because
it
when he was arrested, the murders continued. That's
did
the
not
thing
stop.
they don't
They
talk
did.
about.
They
They never
didn't
talk
stop.
about that. The fact that the murders continued, which means that it was a ritualistic kidnapping and killing of little black kids, okay? Which means, hold on, wait, it still continues to this day in D.C. Why DC? Why does DC matter? Because that's where the power hub of America is. Listen, it's the
Look, like
power hub. Hold on,
I've
hold on, hold
never.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. DC is the power hub for politics. California is the power hub for entertainment. So you have this Nexium and this sex cult on the West Coast. Wait, bro.
Hold
Wait,
on.
bro. We got time. Relax, relax, relax. Now you got
What?
you got the power hub of politics and these sex crimes being committed in D.C. Now let's remember something that Boys Town, all right, and Black Larry in Omaha, Larry King, was getting little kids and sending them to D.C. for parties with rich and powerful
Sex
people.
act.
Yes,
Sex acts.
sex
Yes.
trafficking. All right, but they were having ritualistic events going on, and these kids had no idea what was happening. Why do I have to wear this goat head? What is
People
this about?
look up the Franklin Credit Union murders. Now, if you want to watch the video is on YouTube. It's called The Conspiracy of Silence. It was produced for the Discovery Channel, but it was pulled. But if you ever want to read the book, The Franklin Credit Union Scandal, read the book. Now, this goes all the way to the White House, and this is and the whole idea. We always, like I said, me and my brother grew up in Omaha, so when we talk about this, we're not talking about this from a point of view of a spectator. We're talking about this from people that, hey, we knew people that got snatched up, we knew people that might have been something done to, and again, these are rituals. But even when you don't realize it's a ritual, how about this? So Washington D.C. is on the border of what two states? Maryland
In
and
Virginia.
Virginia. So Virginia is short for virgin, and Maryland is Mary, the Virgin Mary. That's telling you
And the Mason
that
Dixon
is a
line.
yeah, that is a ritual. The reason DC is on the border of the Virgin Mary is because it is a ritual. So when we're telling you that this is taking place in front of you, now back to what we're talking about these sick fucks. A lot of times that you got to understand that these people are doing stuff. Like I said, this CIA shit is real. You got some people in there that are real sick people, but pay attention. How many times do these sick ass people that you don't know why they're being pardoned get pardoned because they were doing they weren't just they're not killing like foreign ambassadors. They're not killing spies. They're killing people for these other sacrifices. And going back to what we said in the beginning, how come 30,000 people go missing every year in New York? How come you
But
have the
why
exact
that
same amount
number?
of people?
Why is it that number, and why is it
Oh,
always the
let,
same?
let,
How come it
let,
never?
let,
How
let's
come it
not even
doesn't
talk.
go down? It doesn't go
Hold
down.
it,
It
hold it,
doesn't
hold
go
it,
up.
hold it.
Don't go down.
That's my that's where I'm going with it. How come? Let's leave New York alone. But how come it's almost the same number of people go missing every freaking year in America? You can't tell me it's the same number. That's because the same people are doing the same shit for the same reason. These are just rituals. These people
Hold
are,
on.
are
Let's
sacrifices.
let's get hold on. Let's get hella creepy with this. Let's talk about the National Park System, the NPS. Let's talk about how many people go missing every year in national parks. And
Look,
of
okay,
these,
hold it. Stop blaming Bigfoot because they're telling you it's
it's
Bigfoot. No, these
not
people are missing
Bigfoot.
satanic rituals. These are rituals that are taking place, and people don't understand that. It's
That's
not
right.
an accident.
And listen, these people that go missing in these parks go missing for the strangest under the strangest circumstances, and they can't figure out how and why these things happen to these people. Now, the way they go missing is these people go missing and their shoes are left, their
Mm.
clothes are left. I'm like, why are they leaving their shoes and their clothes? And and when these people are sometimes found, they're found miles from where their shoes and their clothes are in the strangest of places. For example, when a baby goes missing in a park, a baby has been found at a 2,000 feet higher in elevation, okay,
Yeah.
with no shoes and no clothes. Wait a minute, how did this happen? And there's no claw marks on this baby to like to say that maybe an eagle picked this kid up and flew to a higher mountain, and dropped him
these
off.
these animals these animals ain't killing that many people. These,
Listen,
these ain't cougars, these ain't bears. And what it is that nobody wants to well, I shouldn't say nobody, people don't understand. We've been convinced that, okay, they went missing, they went running, something bad happened to them, or they just go missing without a trace. They
no,
talk about that shit in
that is the
Alaska all the time.
hunting ground. That is the hunting ground for powerful people that hunt down human beings. And it's a sport and it's ritualistic killing. Yes, I'm saying this. I'm saying this out loud. Rich
And
and
we
powerful
ain't saying, hold
elite.
it, we ain't saying that every
I
single one is
you
there.
no 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 no
So
no no
don't
no
say that.
no. I'm saying that rich and powerful people are hunting humans for sport, okay? And it's ritualistic killing. And when they catch these people and they harvest their organs and they eat their flesh and they drink the adrenochrome from the adrenal glands, it's a ritual. These people who pray to Mithras, who pray to Osiris, who pray to Lucifer, who do not pray to the same gods that you and I pray to, this is what they do.
Look, what we're trying to tell you is, like, you're worried about being robbed, or you're worried about being raped, or you're worried about this and that. A lot of that shit's going on under your nose, and these cops actually do catch a lot of these people, and then but then they're told to let them go because they find out who they are. Or so when that starts happening, so why would a cop not want to be a Mason? Why would a cop not want to join? Because they're thinking like, well, hell, they're so powerful, we can't stop them. See, that's the excuse they gave for a lot of these other killings. These cops are seeing shit we don't understand. So I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just trying to tell you that these people are partaking in this shit because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you want to be powerful? I don't want to be that kind of powerful. I believe in heaven and hell, and I believe that you're held accountable for your actions. And these people are doing shit, and it's sick, it's disgusting. But just look at the number, look up the numbers. The same thing. What if you ever look at the numbers for look at the FBI, not for this year but for last year, because that's how it works. For all the assault rifle things, it's like 200, maybe 293 assault rifle killings. But it's like when you look at the killings when it comes to bladed objects, it's like 14, 1,500 people are killed, 1,900 people are killed every year from knives. So why aren't we banning knives? Because it's about this emotional response. They're playing you. Now who's all these people being killed by knives? There's a lot of people being stabbed up. You found these bodies. Those are rituals, and we're trying to warn you that people are. It's messed up. Just be on your guard, people. Don't get sucked in. Don't get bamboozled by bright lights and people being famous and shit. Because a lot of this stuff going on has a very sick and dark purpose.
When
And
you was a kid, as a child, your parents knew better than let you sleep over at certain places. You had
yeah,
a very limited number of friends that your parents knew that you can go and sleep over their
spend the night.
house.
Spend the night. Yeah. Your
Th-
mom had to know their
there's a
parents. Yeah.
reason for that. It's because parents got common sense. Parents back then had common sense. They knew that no, I don't know them. I don't like those people. I don't like what they're about. You can't go stay over there. You know,
They ain't gonna turn out right. I don't know nothing else, but I know they ain't gonna turn out right. No.
right? Exactly. And that same discernment needs to be used in applications to rituals. Listen, some of you out there have children, okay? And you need to guard your children even more closely nowadays. I'm not saying be a helicopter parent. Let them go outside, fall down, and bust their head. But pay attention to the clubs that they join and
Yes.
the after school activities that they are involved in. Because the people that run these organizations, sometimes they have ulterior motives. Okay? That child means everything to you, so guard it with your life. But
And
watch the people that you put your child around because they could be into something that could mean the end of your child's life.
look, you're not just guarding them physically. You're guarding them spiritually, sexually, physically, and mentally. Because these people prey on certain things. They know when you if you tell your kid no, and I tell the kid yeah, I can win. They have honed their skills over years. So yeah, please guard yourself and your children. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, yeah. I want to give you a book to read. To learn more about rituals. There's a one called All Rights Reversed by an occultist named Antero Ali, Alli. Get that book. All right, it's a really, really fascinating book. There's a quote in there that says the most mysterious and fascinating areas of ritual work involve those triggered mechanisms produced altered states of consciousness. You need to read this book. All rights reversed. In closing, I want to say that, rituals are all around us. They will always be a part of us. They're not all bad. They're not. I mean, there's some that have good intent and, they yield good results. But some are rooted in evil and some are rooted in darkness. And you have to separate yourself from these things. But the only way you will know is if you dig for this information and arm yourself with this information and separate your family from that type of thinking. You know, make your wife aware of these things. Make your children aware of these things. Make your friends and loved ones aware of these rituals. Because in the Bible, Jesus says, do not take any type of oath. And he meant that because he knew that by taking the oath, you may be selling your soul without even realizing it. So again, be careful like what you pledge your allegiance to because it could be something that's truly sinister. Do not take it on face value because we live in a country that's run by a government that was founded by a group of men that belong to an occult group on a secret society, all right, and practice rituals. Ben Franklin, okay, his house, under his house, he belonged to the Hellfire Club, all right, which was an occult group. Under his house, the skeletons of children with holes in their skulls were found under his house. All right? That should tell you something. That these wicked ass people have been into these dark arts, into this darkness for a long time. Don't trust every politician you see. Of course, you know that. But really don't trust their ass because they're probably into something wicked. And you know what? Entertainers are the same. I mean, that goes for everybody, man. Just because a person gets up on stage and they wear a suit and stand at a podium, or because they can play a guitar, they can sing really good, don't make their ass special. They might be praying to some darkness. All right? And yo, that shit ain't for you. All right? I'm telling you, that shit ain't for you. If you listen to this show, you probably a good person. So that bullshit ain't for you. So stay the fuck away from it. That's all I got to say, man. What you got?
Uh, Holla back. See y'all next week.
Peace.